Okay, my name is Kamal, and I am a certified police misconduct expert. I'm on the line with a client. Ma'am, would you please tell me the name of the police department and describe your incident?
It's the Rainham Police Department in Massachusetts.
Okay, okay, and tell me what happened. How did you have an incident with them?
On June 24th, 2009, I had been in contact with my endocrinologist, and he had, on the week prior to this, had increased my insulin to 2 shots a day, which I was not keen about. And for some reason, I don't know why I didn't tell him at the time that I was on the old insulin, which he was privy to. Um, but at that time, he may not have remembered that when he told me this about the 2 shots a day. But it had increased my insulin reactions to every day. When prior to that, it may have been once a year, if that. And so I had taken the second shot that day, and I felt my sugar coming down pretty fast. But because um, I had been on welfare and I wasn't able to afford it, the food, I had food stamps, and so that they kind of run out towards the end of the month, and I didn't have stuff because I wasn't used to being in insulin reactions in the house to cover that. So I did feel that I could drive safely down 6 streets away in a mobile home park, which is for the elderly, because my mother, on her street, on Marie's Way, which was 6 streets away, um, there's another woman there, Alice Buteau. I'm sorry, not Alice, Lois Buteau, and her husband's a diabetic also. So I was heading to her house because I felt I could drive there safely at that point. And because my sugar was probably like around 69, maybe 62, and at that point I'm still able to drive because I eat organically, and so it levels my sugars out so I don't have bottoms. And if I do have bottoms, they're slow to react. So I could drive to Lois's house safely, and so I did. And as I was turning onto Marie's Way, I zigzagged, which means I did go up over the sidewalk a little bit. At which point, a neighbor and another neighbor were talking together on his lawn. He was actually on his steps when he was talking to him, and the other man was down below his steps. And they saw this, and but anyway, I pulled up onto my mother's lawn and decided to walk 2 houses away to Lois's house. But I was prevented from doing so because when I pulled up onto my mother's lawn to park the car, which I had permission to do because it's been hit when it's out in the street, um, uh, the officer, the part-time police officer that lives diagonally across from my mother, came over and prevented me from getting out of the car. And he started to talk to me, but because the car was now shut off and in park, and um, I opened the door for him to talk to me, and I went to get out of the car, and he prevented me from doing so. He reached in and grabbed my keys.
So hold it. This
At
isn't.
that
Hold
point,
on.
we had
This is an off-duty police officer who lives in the neighborhood. You're having some sort of a diabetic incident and trying to pull into your driveway. He notices the distracted or the slight off-put driving, and at that point comes over, detains you, and takes your keys out of the car.
That's correct, but it wasn't into the driveway. It was on the lawn because I parked on the lawn, on my mother's lawn.
Okay, so you
Um,
were actually in the yard already when he noticed something that didn't look right, and then he came over.
yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Did he have your permission to come onto your property?
No, he did not.
Did you invite him over?
No, I did not.
Was he wearing any sort of police credentials to validate that he had the authority to come onto your property?
No, he did not.
Okay, so he's just a regular citizen. He's off duty, and now he's at your car, and he's taking the keys out. What did he do next?
He yelled to his girlfriend to go into the house
was he detaining you for a crime? Did he tell you why he was detaining you?
No, he did not.
Does he have any medical expertise to your knowledge?
No, he does not.
Okay. Did he inquire or question you about your condition?
No, he did not.
Okay, so he drew some conclusions and then suggested to his girlfriend to call the police.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and did she call the police?
Yes, she did.
Okay, tell me what happened from there.
They came on, Lieutenant Carr came on scene first, and at that point, he called, from what I understand, he called backup at that point also.
Mm-hmm.
But the backup had not yet arrived when he started to question me about my license. But then as he questioned me about my license, all of a sudden the backup showed up, and they showed up right on scene, and they opened the opposite door of my car at the point where he asked me for the registration.
Okay, and then what happened?
Well, when he asked me for my license, I didn't respond. And he said, "Oh, so you're not going to respond?" And I said, "Yes, I'm not going to respond. That's correct." And because I had heard that, that you can drive without your license now, and that you have an hour to get it. But I wasn't sure if that was in fact true, and that's why I responded, because I didn't have my license with me.
Mm-hmm.
I had left it at home,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want to get into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I didn't respond to the license question. At that point, he asked me further questions for my registration, and I said that it was in the glove compartment. As soon as I said that it was in the glove compartment, another officer reached into, had the other door opened the door and reached into the glove compartment. And he took out the registration, and he asked me who owned the car, and I said my grandmother, Mary Souza, does. And so the other guy that looked at the registration confirmed that. So then at that point, he wanted me to get out of the car, and I refused, because at that point there were other people looking. It was the neighbor that was talking to the part-time police officer that lives across the street. He was making a big scene saying that diabetics shouldn't be driving and they shouldn't have their license, and he was yelling this out loud and in his conversations. And at that time, I could hear him in the background, and that's why I heard that. And his name was Richard Bennett, and the part-time police officer was Robert Smith, who lives across the street, diagonally across from my mother. And excuse me, because I have airway problems, so it might be difficult for me to talk, and I have to stop and cough sometimes. So
That's okay. Take your time. So this part-time police officer, how do you know he's part-time, and why is he part-time? He has other employment?
That was hearsay, and I've only heard that from the park manager, Marie Smith, who was also called to the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a part-time selectman in the town of Rainham.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been problems in the park in the past from the owner's father, who is now deceased.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that goes back a long way.
Okay, how did this lead up to the point where you were assaulted?
Well, at that point, he reached in to grab me out of the car, and I resisted, and I pulled back, and he said, "Why don't you want to get out of the car?" And I said that because people were looking, and I said I feel humiliated, and so he let go at that point, and then I tried to gather the courage to get out. And at that point, I get up quickly